So now it is time to build a 12-core workstation and gaming PC. So, let's go over the parts. I will put all the prices on the screen and you can see for yourself how much I paid for everything, as well as links to everything here. So let's start with the case. This is the GameX White Diamond RGB with tempered glass RGB strip in the front, and cheap RGB fans, and a 1 terabyte Seagate mechanical hard drive, and a Kingston A2000 NVMe SSD 500 gig. And this one will also be equipped with a Wi-Fi card, which I never used before, and 32 gigabytes of DDR3 1600 MHz RAM, ECC registered, and I will pimp them up with some RGB memory heatsinks. And for the graphics card, it is the Radeon RX Vega 64 8GB, and the power supply is the Corsair RM 650X, fully modular, 80 plus gold. And for CPU cooling, I'm using the Enermax LickMax 3 120mm AIO. So for the motherboard, it's the Huananzhi X99-TF motherboard, and I paired it with an Intel Xeon E5-2678V3. It's a 12-core and 24-threaded chip with a base clock of 2.5 GHz, but the boost clock is 3.2 or 3.5. But this one won't give all-core turbo, so I will be modding the BIOS so it can do that. And we have some small fans on the VRMs. And the funny thing is, this motherboard both supports DDR3 and DDR4, as well as 2 M.2 slots and 1 M.2 slot for the Wi-Fi adapter. And it doesn't come with a battery, so you have to supply your own. And instead of debug LEDs, it has this little display, and it has power and the reset button on the board. So for testing before we put it in the case, it's awesome to have. And a little speaker, and it has integrated I/O shield with 4 USB 2.0 connectors, 1 Ethernet, and 4 USB 3.0, as well as SPDIF out. So first order of business should be to see if any of this actually works, at least these parts. So I already inserted a battery, and yeah, let's install the RAM and the SSD and the Wi-Fi adapter. I will on it and see if it boots. We need to, of course, put on the cooler as well, but so the RAM sticks should go in the gray slots. So, this is the moment of truth. Will it work? Let's press the power switch and... Well, what do you know? It's booting up. And see what happens. Let's see if we can get into the BIOS. That's the only thing I'm interested in. Oh, old motherboard. We have 32 gigs of RAM. And and it recognizes the NVMe drive. And our Intel Xeon 2678. Yes, everything works. So it's time to complete the build. So now, first order of business is to take these RGB modules for the RAM sticks and put them in. And it is completely in Chinese. Doesn't look so bad to me. Well, it's only 4 to go. So the PC is built and I modded the BIOS. So the 2678V3 will run an all-core boost of 3.3 GHz all the time. So it does pretty well, you can say. And there's still some cable management left to do in this, but so let's go over those benchmarks. First up, we have Cinebench R20, which scored 4070 points. And then we have Firestrike, which scored 17,828 points. And Time Spy, 7,325 points. So now it's time for the games. We're going to start with Cyberpunk 2077. So in 1080p, medium settings, the average FPS was 79, and in high settings, 62 FPS. And 1440p, at medium settings, it scored 51 FPS, and in high settings, 40 FPS. And now we have Call of Duty Warzone. At 1080p, medium or normal settings, we scored 154 FPS. In high settings, 131 FPS. And now we move up to 1440p at medium settings, scored 113 FPS, and in high settings 95 FPS. So now I'm going to stick with Call of Duty, but this time it's Black Ops Cold War. At 1080p medium settings, 133 FPS, in high settings 102 FPS. And let's move up to 1440p. In medium settings, we scored 86 FPS, and high settings got 71 FPS. So let's move over to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. At 1080p medium settings, we scored 118 FPS, and in high settings 113 FPS. And now we're going to go to 1440p, and in medium settings we scored 86 FPS, and in high settings 83 FPS. So now we have Fortnite, and in 1080p medium settings we scored 193 FPS, and in high settings 148 FPS. And at 1440p medium settings we scored 140 FPS, and in high settings 127 FPS. And the only thing I changed from the presets here was to set the view distance to epic. And GTA 5, 1080p, normal settings, 93 FPS, and in high settings 77 FPS, and in 1440p normal settings 60 FPS, and in high settings 49 FPS. Now we have Red Dead Redemption 2. So I tested this in favor performance stage 6 and balanced stage 4, and favor performance stage 6 looks absolutely terrible, just saying. So let's start with 1080p favor performance stage 6, 103 FPS, and in balanced 4, 85 FPS. And in 1440p favor performance stage 6, 85 FPS, and in balanced it was 64 FPS. So now we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and here in 1080p medium settings 87 FPS, and in high settings 55 FPS, and the difference between medium high is not really noticeable, and 1440p at medium settings 66 FPS, in high settings 55 FPS, which is a weird number. It is the same as 1080p high. So I did test this multiple times to see if something was wrong, but it wasn't. So the last game I have here for today is The Division 2 in 1080p medium settings, 146 FPS, and in high settings 114 FPS. And now we're going to move over to 1440p medium settings, 97 FPS, and high settings 76 FPS. So what can I say? It's a great gaming PC for this, or workstation, video editing, whatever you like. It still packs a punch, as you can say, and I wasn't disappointed at all in the benchmarks for the games. For roughly 650 bucks I built this, which is an awesome value, since the CPU will not be bottlenecking any GPU for a very long time. I saw it maxed out at 30% visualization, so the GPU handled all the work. So you can just switch out the Vega and put in a 6800 XT or a 3070 or 3080 if you can find one. You have an awesome experience. And I can say this puppy right here, she will do 4K, but not at 60 FPS, maybe only in Fortnite. But for a cinematic experience in 4K, yeah, she will do it. So that's it for this time. Share your thoughts in the comments section about what you think about this PC, and all the parts will be in the video description as always. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. And I'll see you all in the next one.